Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another crypto market update. My name is Brendan from the Crypto 101 team, and in today's video, I want to explain how Bitcoin is getting ready for its next major move to the upside. And yes, of course, that means new all-time highs for Bitcoin. Now, we're even seeing the billionaire CEO of Pantera Capital saying that Bitcoin is going to be going to $745,000 when this is all said and done. So we're going to explain the situation, but I think more importantly, we're going to talk about the catalyst that'll actually get us to these large upside price predictions and get us to these new all-time highs in the first place. Because too often on YouTube, I see people come on here, they say Bitcoin or their favorite crypto is going to some big number that's a lot farther away than where we're currently priced at, and they don't do a good job of explaining why. So if you can't tell by all the tabs that I have right above my head, there are a lot of catalysts that could get us to this point, and I want to make sure that I explain all of them in depth in today's video. Now again, all we ask here is that, hey, we're giving you this content completely for free. If you like it, consider hitting the like and subscribe button, and if you really like it, watch all the way through, and we will certainly appreciate it. So let's kick things off. Again, a $750,000 price prediction is a big deal. Can we actually get there? And the answer is, I think, yes. But I will say that a $750,000 price prediction is certainly more than I am pricing in for this cycle. I've seen a lot of people say 200, 300, maybe even 500. Now, I think $750,000 is, again, maybe a little bit too high for this cycle. Could Bitcoin do it? Absolutely. I'll never say it's impossible. We've seen Bitcoin do some pretty tremendous things, and at the current rate of adoption and the supply shock that we're already seeing, I wouldn't count it out. Again, it's a little bit maybe overly optimistic for what I'm betting for, but I do think that it's certainly possible. So let's briefly just see what's actually happening here, because the one thing that I think no one is talking about is the massive supply shock that is happening over here on Bitcoin. Now, this little blue line that I have on my screen here goes back to summer of 2022. And we have seen that over the course of 2022, 2023, 2024, and certainly so far in 2025, the supply of Bitcoin on exchanges has been shrinking. In fact, I think shrinking is an understatement. We are seeing the supply get eaten away. Now, where is this going to? Well, this is going to sovereign wealth funds. This is going to companies that are buying it up. This is going to the Bitcoin ETFs. This is going to long-term holders. This is going to governments. This is getting bought up all over the place. And this is something that I was talking about over on our Crypto 101 channel last week during our crypto rundown. So if you haven't seen that, you can go look at it, and I share a lot of the data over there. But essentially what this means is that, hey, the supply is shrinking. It has been shrinking for years now, beyond the Bitcoin halving and all that stuff. That's not even accounting for this. We're saying the amount of Bitcoin that's actually on exchanges is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Exchanges are running out of Bitcoin, to put it bluntly. Now, if supply is shrinking, well, what is demand doing? Well, this is saying, hey, Bitcoin ETF demand is skyrocketing. Bitcoin's breaking out, and we're seeing our largest flows of 2025. What this means is that Bitcoin has rebounded with a record $3 billion of inflows last week alone. That is a big deal, $3 billion. And when we go and we actually look at the chart for this, you can see that for most of April, we are kind of moseying around, some green days, some red days, some outflows, some inflows. However, last week, things shifted in the high gear. I mean, we were seeing there were some days where we were almost getting $1 billion of inflows for 2 days in a row. And then there's these other days, which are still massive, 450 million, 400 million, 380 million in net inflows. And there's just a lot of positivity. So when we're looking at this and we're saying, hey, well, supply is decreasing, demand is increasing, what could that do to the price of Bitcoin? And this is where I think we kind of get some of these big price predictions from. Now, on top of this, we have one of the Bitcoin ETF providers, the CIO of Bitwise, talking about this, saying, hey, there was over $3.3 billion that flowed into these Bitcoin ETFs last week. Again, the demand is there. There's also big other groups. In fact, I thought this one's kind of funny. It's not like it's some whale or some important name, but this did just stand out to me. This is probably one of the last things I expected to see. But it just goes to show that, like this says, Bitcoin is spreading like a wildfire. $5 billion Cardone Capital is looking to buy over $100 million worth of Bitcoin. Doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter what you do. Everyone is looking at this. Here's another one. Just in, the Arizona House has passed a bill to establish a Bitcoin reserve. That's also happening in the background. And finally, one of the hottest up-and-coming, kind of financial companies, they deal a lot in banking. They are saying, hey, we are going to be bringing back crypto investing to our platform as well. So it doesn't matter if you are, Cardone Capital, which is mostly real estate, if you are in the traditional banking space and more in fintech, they're looking at this stuff. If you are in a government, like the Arizona House is saying, they're looking at it. So demand is increasing everywhere. And of course, this is on a global spectrum. This isn't something that's just limited to the States. And it's not a coincidence that as we're seeing this happen, the price of Bitcoin is back on the up and up. We've risen from around 74,000 through 80,000, through 90,000, and now we're just hanging out up here at around $95,000 on Bitcoin. What we saw is that last year, Bitcoin bounced off of its previous high, formed a double bottom at the beginning of April, broke the 20, the 50, and the 200-day moving average. It broke through this primary downtrend line that we saw and to a higher high. So all of the signs are here. The writing is on the wall, and there's a lot of positivity. So I think what it means for everyone is that it's becoming increasingly hard to stay bearish on Bitcoin. The negative catalysts are extremely limited. And outside of what could be a black swan event, I'm not sure what would crash this price harder. Again, it would have to be a massive escalation in war or trade wars or black swan event that we have yet to foresee. And that's about the only thing here. So I'm looking at this saying, hey, I'm optimistic. I think it's hard not to be with a lot of the data that we looked at. And when we're saying, hey, how could Bitcoin get to $200,000, $300,000, $500,000, $700,000? Well, I think if the supply continues to be reduced, demand continues to increase, adoption just continues in general, and people are just going to be accumulating, I think that makes the argument of, hey, this is a lot easier to get there. The other thing that you have to understand is that as the supply has decreased in recent months, this now means that it is easier than it was beforehand to get back to the all-time high. Well, why is it easier? Well, a big chunk of that supply has just been removed from the exchanges. So now if there's lower supply, the order books are thinner, and you can get back up to that same price point in an easier method than it was before. This is the exact same reason why we see a lot of cryptos have these higher price points, and some coins have like a fraction of a penny per coin price point, right? Because it's all due to supply and demand. It's the tokenomics. So if this supply is being reduced here, again, I think it increases the upwards volatility of Bitcoin. It creates a very, very good situation. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on positive here. So if you're looking at the crypto market, you're wondering what's going on, rest assured that through the thick and thin of this year, things are still looking very optimistic. So we appreciate everyone tuning in here. There's a lot going on in the crypto markets, and we certainly love covering it for all of you. So if you like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because we have a lot more content coming your way. Now, if you want to get plugged into an awesome crypto community, we have a link in the description down below. You can get access to our portfolio for just $1, no gimmick, no kind of extra fees after that. You can get access to it for $1. We got that linked in the description down below. So if you're interested and you want to check that out, you can certainly go do that down there. So again, thank you all for watching, and we'll see all of you at the same time, same place next week.